Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Hey,
Morning.
hey, can y'all see me? I can't see
Morning.
myself in my. Huh.
Nope. I didn't have any sound this morning. I had to turn it off, start it over, reset my computer just to get my sound going this morning. So it's Saturday. The computer's tired. It said it's supposed to be off work today. And just as a reminder, you do have to have your videos on this morning. Have to see your beautiful faces.
Okay. Dad, where are you going?
Oh, now that's a cutie patootie.
Oh,
Yeah, mom's gone coaching, so I have the daughter while I'm doing this.
All
So-
right. Dad's on duty.
I'll be muted most of the time until I have to say something.
Okie dokie. That works. Like I tell y'all, I have a dog running around. My people are asleep, but the dog will run around and she may bark every now and again, but it's about it for 8 o'clock in the morning at my house. My people stay in the bed till about 9. All right, I only know of one person that's not joining us this morning. So other than that, everyone should get on. If others join the group, I will just let them in as we go through. I know it's a Saturday and I know we're closely approaching Christmas and people have lots of shopping to get done and other things. So I do want to be respectful of your time. And so that we can get all the business we need to get done this morning done and you can get back to Saturday life. This is one of our more lengthy class sessions because there's like more things that we cover in the second class. I know y'all have gotten into the meat of your textbook and reading the different domains. And so we are going to go through domains 3, 4, 5, and 6 with the PowerPoint. And again, I know you've started reading the text and you've gotten through a lot of those chapters already. So I'll go through that pretty swiftly. And then we'll jump into the Mississippi Professional Growth Model and talk a little bit about that. You will need a sheet of paper. So if you don't have a sheet of paper, grab a sheet of paper because we're going to do a little mock evaluation this morning, watching a couple of videos of teachers teaching. And so that'll be one of the things that we'll do. And then we'll, entertain any questions, comments, or anything that you guys are having questions about. And then we'll talk about all the upcoming assignments that are due. And I want to go ahead and say, I know I'm a little bit behind on your grading. It's been a very busy time in school life for us. I don't know about y'all, but it's been busy. And I don't think I've spent one afternoon at home this past week. But I do plan to kind of settle in today and tomorrow and try to get all the grading and all of that caught up before we go into the Christmas break. Anything like me, I like to know where I am at the midpoint. So I'll get all that caught up this weekend so you'll know where you are in terms of classwork. Class participation. I did want to hit on that this morning briefly. For assignments that are late turned in, I don't generally take a lot of points for late assignments when I know they're going to be late. And I know I shared this with you guys in the first class. If I know you're going to turn something in late, I don't take about a point or two if you're, late with an assignment, which I can take up to 10 points for late assignments. But I mean, life happens, and I've said that to you guys before. But if I don't know your assignment is coming in late, your attendance is affected by it. Because if I don't have your assignment on Sunday, even if I don't grade it, I go through them on Monday to check to see if they've been turned in. And then I go into the attendance portal and you're marked present or absent. Based off if I got an email, you're present because I know it's coming. But if I don't receive an email, I do mark it as absent and I do not go back and change it. That's just being, proactive. We know when we're going to be behind on something. So just that's so you know going forward how your attendance is documented. Any questions about that? No? Okay. Well, I just wanted to touch base on that. The things that I've read thus far have been really good. If it's something that was missing or, I try to leave a comment so that like, okay, I need to go back in and add text, citing the text. If you resubmit it, I'll regrade it and I'll give you as many points back as I can. I don't like for this class to be punitive at this level of schooling. It's about learning. It's about getting the things that you need from this class. So I try my best not to be very punitive. So with that being said, we're going to jump in unless there are any questions. And again, it goes quicker when you participate. I like the back and forth. This is like the hardest thing for a chatty Cathy like me. I like to chat and I like to interact. So this kind of model of schooling is very difficult on this end of it. I know for y'all, it's like, come on, let's get it done so I can get off and I can get to life. But on this end, it is kind of like, okay, y'all talk back, okay? All right, so I'm going to share my screen. And like I said, we're going to jump into the PowerPoint part of it, where we talk about the domains. Let's see. I feel like I've gotten to be a lot better with screen sharing. Yes, it worked. And if you guys see that there's some friends that should be on that you knew were going to be on, but they didn't get on, shoot them a text message. Let them know if they're anything like me. I'm by far very forgetful these days. It's just too many things to move around and keep up with. Anywho, I'm going to jump into the PowerPoint. If there are some typos in here, y'all just give me a little grace. I kind of went through it real quick and tried to spruce up some information, and I may have gone a little too quick, and it was late, so, I was half asleep. All right, so domains 5 and 6 is where we're going to spend our time with the PowerPoint. Let's see. And we're looking at core values. I always say everyone has core values, whether they're, what you want them to be. If you're still growing them, you do have them. And they may be on a teacher level, they may be on a district level, but you have them, how you feel and what you value. And there are 3 elements that go along with this. One of them we'll look at when we start talking about the professional growth system. I will say the biggest thing about core values is being transparent. What you believe, what you think is best for your school are the things that you need to be letting your staff see in you and what you verbalize to them also. And we all know that we're in a climate of safety. It's all about keeping our students safe and being culturally responsive. And these are areas of core values in the elements that you all will read or have read about. Any questions about those? And I think I've already hit on being transparent. And I know a lot of people think transparency is what we say, but I will be the first to tell you transparency is more or less what you do and what people see in you and what you verbalize as well. Making sure that your staff, the community trust you. And again, being culturally responsive. That's a place that I think as we go forward and as much as things are placed out there on social media and how things are looked at, we do have to be more cautious of what we say and how we say things. And then making sure that we have a safe and secure climate in our school. Culture and climate. Culture is about the way things are done. What are your norms? What are the traditions at your school? Is your building open or is it closed? Is it one that is inviting? Are your staff collaborating? Are you a collaborative leader? The climate is the way the school feels, and it is a result of the culture. Do the people feel safe? Are they feeling valued? Is your school inviting? My favorite phrase, and I picked it up from my superintendent a few years ago, was radical hospitality, making sure everyone that comes in the school feels invited. And I know you guys did your videos, the Ron Clark videos, and got a lot of information on the culture and climate from that. I'll let you guys kind of read through that.
Hey, Dr. Cockrell, I just wanted to share this with you. My principal actually has that book, the Move Your Bus book, and she gave it to me. But my husband is also a supervisor in the oil field, and I shared with him that video, and he's done shared it out to his whole team, asking them, are they a walker? Are they? I'm like, oh Lord, but it's really relative to any position that's in leadership. So I really enjoyed that. I love Ron Clark.
I do too. And the whole energy vampire, and I'll say it out loud. I am not a vampire today. I am not going to be a vampire today, because you sometimes have to tell yourself, I got to spread joy, especially during this season. It is a season of joy, but everybody feels so busy, and it's like the one more thing, So yes, I love Ron Clark. I just do. Yeah, element 1. And again, I'm not going to read each of these to you guys. I'm going to just let y'all just kind of go through them. If you have anything you want to share, please share. Thank you, Jordan, keeping us
Dr.
all
Cockrell.
awake. Yes.
I'm sorry. I have a question.
Mhm.
As an administrator, I guess aside from you teaching this course, what are some things that maybe you do as a building leader that causes you to reflect and think about these things every day with so much that happens within your school? Because I guess going through this class, I think about either current administrators or past administrators, and I always kind of ask myself, well, are they thinking about these things? Is there a part of their day-to-day process to where they ask themselves, was today a collaborative day? Was I a vampire? As a leader, was I a walker, a runner? So I just wanted to ask from a personal standpoint of you.
I'm gonna answer that in two folds, if you will. I was an AP for 6 years, and I felt like my main role as an AP was keeping a pulse on the building. And my principal was and she's still a great leader, and I learned so much under her. And she was a runner, so she paced fast all the time. So she didn't spend a lot of time thinking about the culture. And so she left that to me. She was like, they come to you, they talk to you, keep me up on how the building feels. So I've always been that person who's always wanted to know how the people felt, because I don't think people work hard for you if they're frustrated with you, or if they just feel like you're all about test data, all about this. And again, I think I shared before, I have the pleasure of serving as the lead in the building I was the AP in for so long. So if I have PLCs, once PLCs is over, I'm always asking, was this beneficial for you guys? Was this something we need to continue spending time on? Should we walk away from it? We have staff meeting every Monday, and I try to throw in like a fun activity. We've been doing naughty nice games where they win prizes and different things. Just trying to make sure that people feel valued is something I always keep on my radar, because I've worked like you. I've worked for principals, and I'm like, Lord, just get me through this year. I gotta find my joy in this again. And I've worked for leaders that have always walked behind and said, hey, how are you doing? And I've always wanted to be the leader that comes back and say, how are you doing? And I've had to have hard conversations this year with some people. And after those hard conversations, I think about it like I think about kids. We're a PBIS school. To every negative, there are 4 positives. So if I have to be heavy in a meeting, or if I have to be heavy to a person about something, I always go back, and I'm always tracking at least 4 times. Let me have a conversation 4 positive times with that teacher to encourage and lift up. So for me, that's my personality. Then I go back to like core values. That's a core value for me, to make sure people feel valued. Even parents that walk in the building, you can see the ones that are kind of stumbling in and they're like, oh, is this a snooty school? Is this a welcoming school? I try to walk up to them first. Good morning, I'm Dr. Cockrell. I'm your child's principal. How you doing? I just think people need to feel valued. So does that answer your question? I told you I'm a chatty Cathy.
Yes, perfectly. And it also brings up questions about other administrators. Just thinking about what are their core values. So thank you, Dr. Cox.
All right. Thank you for adding to the discussion, Gary. Makes it seems like I'm not in this room by myself. All righty. So element 2, that word integrity is a big word for people. I always say this much about integrity. Are we doing it for kids, or are we doing it for the adults who are upset about it? And if you can always go back to that, we're doing it for kids, to help kids. And it may make some teachers uncomfortable. It may make parents uncomfortable. But I think then we're building trust, because I'm doing this for the kids that we serve. I think that always helps in terms of making sure we're moving with integrity. And those tough decisions, my principal, my first year's AP, her comment to me was like, go back in your office and put that leader sweater on, because you're all in now. You got to go back and have that conversation. As an AP, I was like, I think this is your job. Nope, it's not. If you see it, you have to address things that don't put students first. And every decision is not going to be popular, because some things are mandates. If I sit in a principal's meeting and my superintendent says, this is what you're going to do, I have no control over that. And when I talk to my staff, I say, this is coming from the top. We can gripe about it. You get a minute, but then we need to implement and move forward. And that's, I think, has been beneficial as well, because they know I'm like, I can't say I like it or dislike it until we try it. So it works. And then element 3, I'm a big safety person. I just think, in the time that we're in right now with school shootings and having to do all these trainings to make sure schools are safe, I just think if we are not putting school safety in the forefront of everything we do, then we're losing people, because bullying is a real thing. Cyberbullying, for y'all that are in high school, bless your heart. I could not chase down as many rabbit holes that y'all have to chase with the Snapchat, the photo dumps. I mean, they got so many different things now that they're putting out there. I listen to my high school principals when I'm at meetings, and I just don't even see how y'all keep up with all the things. The emotional bullying. It's so many things that go on with kids, and we have to always know what's going on. If a kid's behavior changes and all of that, schools are becoming the place for all the things. And it is a lot to ask teachers to keep an eye on. It's a lot, but we are charged with that job. And I love the statement, this line, Dr. Sellers put that in a few years ago, about academic safety. When a child feels safe to take academic risk, such as advanced courses or to participate in academic discussions. If a kid sits in your room and never ever speaks, I think there's something wrong with that. That means they don't feel like that room is safe enough to take academic risks. And that's what we want kids to do, because that's the only way that they'll move to being facilitators of their learning. And when they get to college, that's what they have to be. And I take that charge seriously at a 3rd through 5th grade level, because I always say to the teachers, once they leave us, they're in a sea of students that are going multiple directions with 8 different teachers and 8 different classes in middle school. So we have to teach them before they leave 5th grade. Raise your hand, ask questions, ask after class, ask before class, if you don't want to ask during class, because they have to take ownership of it. So I like that statement that she added to this. Any comments around element 3?
Dr. Cockrell. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have worked in schools where the culture and climate are, struggling. So where do you begin rebuilding the school's culture and climate?
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
be
there's so many components to it. So, I mean, where do you start?
I'm gonna be honest, I have never worked in a building where the staff didn't pull together, whether it was pulling together because we disliked the principal or pulling together because we were in a situation where the district was hard. My former principal is in a building right now where she's having to build community, build culture. And we've had a lot of conversations where she's called and we kind of bounced ideas. The first thing is sitting down with your staff, the whole staff, pulling out that big chart paper. What are your three big things? What are the three things that you need to move forward? And that has been like what we've kind of gone back and forth in the readings and the research and just kind of talking through some things has really been a benefit for her and her new building because they'd gone through a couple of principals and leadership was so vastly different. And then in the building, they had a principal and an AP, and then that was a divide within the school. So now they have a new principal and a new AP, and just building culture starts with asking teachers, what is it I can do for you? What's your big three things? Most times it's going to be, can I get some discipline help? Can I get some curriculum help? And what is your expectation of me? How can I feel successful in this environment? That was overwhelming. And she's in a K-5 building, overwhelming what the three things were across all grade bands.
Yes, and this is K-5. One of the schools, they've had about 5 principals like every other year. So it's hard for the teachers to adjust every year with a new person.
And the trust.
Yes. And then another school, it's the principal and I guess friendship and professionalism. So yes, there's a divide.
But they're going to have to start with getting
Thank you.
people to collectively make conversations around what is it they need. And I don't know about that whole friend bit. I just think if you're the leader of the school, you can't have subgroups. You know, what is it called? Cliques. You can't have cliques within the system because it doesn't work. It's your teachers
No,
don't trust you.
it hasn't worked for her. So.
I don't know. That one's a hard one because you cannot operate like that. All right. So in conclusion for domain 5, your core values, the school leader needs to communicate their core values through every decision, action, and policy established at the school. What the leader values creates the climate of the school. And that's the truest thing I've ever heard in my life. How you walk through your building, if you walk through your building angry and upset, that's how your teachers operate. If you're chipper and upbeat, that's how your teachers operate. It just is. And I don't know why it's like that, but it is. Domain 6, resource management. And I will say this as a new lead principal, this is the area I felt like I came into the system learning. I knew we had money that we had to manage and, source out in different areas, but I had to learn all the different budget codes and all the different reasons this budget code is for this and this money goes only to this. And making sure that I have a bookkeeper, but we're in compliance with where we're spending our money. I'm blessed to be in a district that it's a lot of checks and balances with all of the resources. So if you do send something in that's listed wrong, they send it back. But if you're a smaller school district, you may not have as many checks and balances. So as a leader, you need to learn these things. As you're doing your what is it called? My brain took a break. Your internship hours and different things. Spend some time with your principal you're working with and ask questions about the budget. How do you spend your money fiscally? How do you purchase resources for your school, whether it's textbooks, whether it's technology, whether it's online formatted programs? How is that decided upon? How is that utilized in the building? What key stakeholders have a seat at the table when decisions are being made? I don't buy a program unless my department leads have gone through it and vetted it. We go to different schools and see the programs in action. I don't go in and say, oh, we're just going to buy this. I'm not the one in the classroom teaching it. So I don't need the ownership of the program. The teachers have to say this works because they got to supplement. There's never a program you're going to purchase that has everything in it. So just making sure you know how things are being done. That's a key component. If you for element 1 to me. Element 2, school improvement is one of those things that you do have to hear from all people that are involved in your district and how those things are going to be done. And that is from the students all the way up to your, school board. And then element 3, everything has a rule, everything has a regulation, but just making sure you understand that and how those things support instruction and achievement. Operational management, that is the day-to-day business of operating a school. I don't like to spend my day on this part of the job. I like to schedule all those things after school because I want to be an instructional person during the school hours. I like instructional management from 7 to 3. At 3 o'clock, yes, I can meet and walk through and look at cameras. I can go walk through and check if something needs to be moved, where we're going to put a playground. But I'm not scheduling that between work hours because I need to be in classroom. Classroom is where I spend the most of my time. I don't want to sit at a desk or be in my office. Let's see. Yeah, you have to pay attention to your budget or you'll be at the point where you have no money. That's where I live though, at the point of having no money. Let's see. Element 1. I'll let you guys read through that.
Dr. Cockrell, isn't there like a really lengthy report? I know my administrator, she has to type up like a page. I don't even know how many pages it is of like all the different programs she buys, how it's implemented in the school. I know that that's like a headache for her.
Yes, I have that meeting in February.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering. I assumed it was statewide since it was like associated with the federal programs and all that.
Mhm.
But
And see, I'm not a title school, so mine isn't as lengthy as a title school.
yeah.
But yes, every school in my district has a budget meeting and we schedule it. And you have to go in with what are you buying? How often is it used? Have a report for how often it's used. Because, if you're going to be a fiscally sound district, you have to not spend funds just randomly. And so I support that thinking. But at the same time, I don't like when I get a no. Like, no, we don't need that. I don't like no's. But if you can support it, normally it's not something they'll say no to. Yeah. And then element 2, and that goes back to what Jordan was saying about making sure, you've, assess the programs you're using. What standards are they going to address? You just can't willy-nilly go buy something and be like, oh, but it was a cute program. No. So, yeah. And then element 3. And I'm still learning all the regulations. There are many. Have a binder now. When I need something or need to know something, I just start flipping through the binder because I am one of those people that don't like to walk into something and don't know. I like to be prepared and ready to go. So, and I look at bullet point 3. You have SPED teachers. They're your experts in your building on IEPs. As a principal, assistant principal, MTSS coordinators, you're going in a lot of those meetings. As a teacher, you serve on those IEP committees. Learn the things that are going on in those meetings. Don't just sit and sign. You need to know, why are we having to sign? Why are we having all these different meetings? The MSIS data. What MSIS data is relevant? What MSIS data do you have to upkeep every month? I have a data specialist in my building. Some people use one, like their secretary does all the things, bookkeeping, data, all those things. But these people have reports that they turn in every month. And as a lead and an AP, you are going to be signing off on these reports. You need to know what they mean.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So on the IEPs, because I know they have to be followed, the 504s, the IEPs, the accommodations, everything. So I actually teach the majority of all of our students who have accommodations. And I've discussed it. I guess as a principal, what is your recommendation knowing that my students are not getting all their accommodations? And I've noted that because our Met chair is also the inclusion specialist assigned in my room, but being with a caseload yourself, of course, she's pulled through all grade levels. So I know 100% my students are not getting their allotted time per week and everything they should be.
So
Where do you
my
go with that?
question to you is it they're not getting the allotted time because people aren't doing what they're supposed to do, or there's not enough minutes in the day?
They're not getting it. I have the one-on-one individualized. So we don't have the staffing to provide the individualized with my small group, with the read aloud, with the extended time. So even like during a whole week, I was told document it kind of thing. I've gone periods of a week and a half with nobody coming in to help them with these extra services.
I would lean on whatever your administrator's telling you with documentation, because some of those things are outside of her control or his control, because that's staffing. You don't have enough SPED inclusion teachers to service the number of kids that you guys have in your building. And that is probably why they're saying document it. So when that principal goes in for their one-on-one with the superintendent, that'll be their point of concern at that point. Because even with hiring, I can't hire a SPED teacher unless I get permission from the SPED director. I can't hire a SPED assistant until I get approval from my SPED director. And right now I'm in that fold where you are. I have my two SED classrooms. In my mind, I'm at the point where I need another adult in that room, whether it be just another SPED assistant. So those are the conversations I'm having right now. Like if we get one more kid, we're above our numbers. It's 9 to 1, 9 to 2. Number 10, I'm gonna need you to put another person in here. But sometimes they say no. Let's get through the end of the year. But I'm with you. It's about servicing kids. Minutes matter, and these are federal regulations. And that's probably where your principal is with all of that. And that's why it's like document, document, document.
And I
Now-
can tell you something, Ashley, as being the testing coordinator for our school, if you're in a state tested area, when you get to doing your accommodation modifications, if the accommodations are not implemented throughout the year, they are not allowed to be on the testing accommodations. And if you get caught with that, because I know some people that have, you can get in big time trouble. So y'all better make sure, just so y'all school don't get in trouble, that if the kid is not getting the accommodation and it's marked on their state test that they do, they have to match. Like if they're getting extra amount of time throughout the year for something, that accommodation better be attached to their state test. Or if it says they're getting extra time and they're not getting extra time, it better not be on their state test. That's a huge thing that they go and check, is the accommodations for special ed kids. So just a side note.
That is so
As a
true.
SPED
Thank you,
teacher,
Lord.
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Good
No.
morning. As a SPED teacher, it feels so good hearing other people that know and understand. Most of my classes, I don't have many SPED colleagues, so it feels so good hearing y'all talk about it.
You're not alone. But yes, I Jordan is so correct on that, because I served as the STC for the past 6 years. And yes, all those accommodations have to meet. If they're testing in their gen ed classroom with headphones on, they don't get pulled out in small group. So you do have to make sure all those things mirror. And that's going to be a conversation you have to have with your lead principal. Oh, that's the end. Any questions about any of domains 5 and 6? No one went to sleep? Okay, great. Everybody still seems to be with us. Okay. Oh, we've only gone through 35 minutes. Look at us rock and roll this morning. All right, so we're gonna transition. So no questions about 5 and 6. We're gonna transition now to the Mississippi Professional Growth Model. How many of you get formally observed twice a year? So that's basically what the state went to. I guess in year 2018, they piloted the program in 1819, and it was implemented in 1920. Are you going to work? Okay, I'm sorry, I have grown. My children are grownish, so I'm checking in. Again, they're awake early, so it has to be something going on, like you're going somewhere. So with that pilot program in 1819, they used several schools in the state. And in 1920, it went full force. And that's when every school in the state of Mississippi, the principals were supposed to do 2 formal observations. And the way it's said, you can do an announced and an unannounced if you want to do it that way. Several principals send out sign-ups and teachers sign up and they know exactly the day and time that they're coming. Some principals pop in. You have no idea when you're going to get an observation. I myself, I do one announced and one unannounced. In the fall, I do it announced. I tell people when I'm coming. And if I can't get there, if something happens, then I reschedule with them so that they're prepared and they can go forward. I tell my teachers, don't put on a dog and pony show for me. Just go in and teach. If you have this on your agenda for Tuesday, just teach. You wouldn't be here if I didn't think you taught every day. Like that's how I think. I think people go to work and they do their jobs. On the worst day, it may not be my best show, but I show up every day and I go in to teach. And that's how I've always been. And I think I hire people that think that way. I do informal observations. The way it's done in my building is my AP and I, we split our teaching staff in half. She takes half, I take half. And at mid-year, we swap. If I have a brand new teacher to my building, they're with me the entire year. They don't get to swap because if a plan of improvement is going to happen, it'll be me doing it. If there are things that they need to work on, I need to be the one telling them. So that is basically how we do all of the observations and feedbacks. If I meet with you, if I come in and observe you teaching, you are going to meet with me for feedback. That's just the way it's done. I believe the value in evaluations is not the evaluation. It is the discussion afterwards. And so for myself, that is how I've always viewed teacher observation. A few years back, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, my district did a book study on leverage leadership. And it's all about how to do observations, how to do feedback, and how to even encourage your staff to observe and provide feedback for each other. And then I went through Coaching University through Mississippi State last year to kind of make sure that I'm coaching and not just at being an administrator in those feedbacks, and helping teachers realize what they need to self-reflect on and grow themselves professionally. And the buzzword in this time is collective teacher efficacy. If y'all, that's the buzzword. So to just build that up within my staff. And so then we started the instructional rounds approach last year, and we've done it a couple of times this year, where teachers get together and observe each other, and then they have pre-meetings, post-meetings. They talk about how they can co-teach, plan, and implement changes that they need to do. And I'll tell you guys, we did our first one right before the Thanksgiving break, and I was in what do you call personal turmoil about it because I wanted to be involved. But as I've read and I've done all the work on what does it look like to do instructional rounds, you have to trust your teachers to do it with fidelity. And it's easier for them to be authentic and to talk about their vulnerabilities as teachers if the administrator's not there. Because we're in a climate of fake it till you make it. I got it. I can do this. But if I'm not in the room, they can say to a fellow colleague, I don't know how to get these kids to behave. You know, like you're not going to say that with your principal sitting in the room. I wouldn't, let me say that then. So when we start talking about professional growth models, there is the part of observation. As an administrator, you're observing, you're talking with your teachers about how to better themselves. But you don't want to stay just in that mode. You want to move to collective teacher efficacy, where teachers are helping each other and they're having conversations, professional conversations about growing themselves, growing their department, and then growing their whole team. And then you get into vertical alignment where you grow from third to fourth to fifth, or from you math folks, you know how y'all want the algebra to match the algebra 2 so they're prepared for the other things. And I was winging that because I'm not a math brain. But just making sure you're having those conversations so when they get to 11th grade and they have to take a history test, we're not trying to chunk all this information and get them to pass a history test because back in 2nd grade, they never even introduced the history to them, you know? So just having those conversations across the horizontal and vertical lines is where I think our biggest bang for our buck as educators. Okay, I'm gonna get off my soapbox and then we're gonna get into the meat of this. I am going to just show you guys the actual professional growth system booklet that's MDE certified. It's on the MDE website. It is in your Canvas shell if you want to go in and print it or just to download it for bedtime reading when you want to go to sleep. Okay, let's see. Nope, it did not share. Let's see. Nope, that is not what I want. Let's try that again. And I was doing so good. Yes, got it. So this is what the guide is for the whole professional growth system and what MDE put out a few years back for all teachers, administrators, so that it is a very transparent document. And again, I'm not going to go through this whole rubric with you. I just wanted you to know that it was available. And as we look at the observation and feedback cycle, this is what I was talking about earlier about how I like to do my observations and feedback. But having those clear classroom observations, making sure you're providing timely feedback. Some principals do this via an email system. Some of them do it one-on-one with you, a meeting in the hallway, but making sure you have the time to have a conversation with the person that you observed. I think that is just the most powerful thing, because to me, that's where the changes in practice happen. And anytime you give some specific action steps, you got to follow back up, making sure that people are doing the things that they tell you they're going to do. And then this is just a clear progression of how this is done. And as I said before, the state mandates that, you know, classroom observation, at least 3 of them per school year. And that could be 2 informal unannounced and 1 formal announced observation. I do believe people need to have an announced one. I just think I need to know when you're coming so I can get over all the jitters and all the things before you come in unannounced. Any questions about that? All right. And like I said, you guys have that document in your Canvas module. Go in, you can look at it, read through it. You can check your principal. Are they doing the things they need to be doing? So you
Dr.
have that.
Cochran,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Quick question. Is there like a statewide administrative, I guess, rubric for the what the observation sheet looks like as an administrator is currently giving the informal or formal observation? I'm asking because I had one that like literally sent back to me or showed me their I guess their notes. And I mean, it was like a blank Word document with just kind of like some lines on it. I mean, it looked like just a very simple. And I've had administrators in the past to where like I've seen the rubric, you know, and I don't know if is there a state giving one to administrator? Oh, okay, all right.
But it's not
Thank
a
you.
mandate that you use it. Like I've created my own document that works for me, if that makes sense. When I do the actual formal observations, then I do use my district has a form that we have to fill out, and I use the state one. Because at the end of the school year, about June-ish, we get a spreadsheet that's sent in from the state, and you have to put the scores in for every employee in your building, every certified teacher in the building. That includes your counselors, your psychometrists, your librarians, and those three departments have a different rubric from your teaching staff. So there is a state mandated rubric, and I don't know how principals that don't use it wing it. I don't. Because it's different from what my district uses. And I tell my teachers that when we do it in the fall, you know, you have a state and you have a district, and they sign off on both of them. Some districts choose not to do that. And again, I don't know how they wing it when that June spreadsheet comes out. And I've done that rubric with my principal many times before, but when I had to do it myself this summer, I was like, wait, the speech path is different. The librarian is different. Oh, wait, my counselors are different. And my principal wasn't using the up-to-date state rubrics for them. Well, I am, because I want my stuff to match. And all of these things are located on MDE's website. You don't even have to go digging for them. It's like right there. The counseling rubric comes with a guide to tell you exactly what it is you should be looking for. The speech path comes with a guide telling you exactly what you need, even the librarian's rubric. So it's not like it's hard to find or to, you know, kind of figure it out, because it's right there, just a little light reading. What we're going to look at today is going to be one of the is the MDE rubrics. It's the sorting, and excuse me. And like I said, all of these things are on the in the Canvas module, so you'll be able to go back in and look at them. And I would even say, if you're working with your administrator, share the documents with them. Because sometimes people just don't know, because they lean on the district to tell them what to use. And if you're leaning on your district and your district isn't using the state recommended documents, do you see what I'm saying? Like helping them stay up to date and current.
I do. I work at two separate school levels in the district. And so at the high school level, I did get the traditional like rubric looking, but at the middle school level, I mean, it looked like something that I turned in for my undergrad. And I even like showed my wife, I said, hey, have you ever seen anything like this? And like, I'm looking for my score and all of, I mean, it was just, I was wondering, was there like one from the state okay.
And it breaks down exactly what you need to look for under each domain. It's an easier to follow guide. I will be the first one to say, because I like it. And I've literally started using it. And my counselor was like, thank you. She's like, the one from the district is like 30 years old. I said, I know, I can tell by how many times it's been copied. But anyway, we're going to jump into this part. Okay, you remember I asked that you have a sheet of paper? So take that sheet of paper and fold it in half. And it's hot dog style for those of us in elementary, because we know hot dog hamburger folds. And that just means the long way. You're going to fold it the long way. Oh, maybe not. And on one side of it, you're going to put teacher, and on the other side, you're going to put student. And if you've never done a formal or informal observation before, it's funny to do it the first time, because you're trying to watch what the teacher's doing, what the kids are doing, and mark both of them all at the same time. So it's a little, I'm not going to say it's hard to do, but I will say it does kind of get a little busy. So let me show you guys the actual rubrics. Let's see. Okay. Or your assignment. And I want to, and I feel like I go into this and I get it all scrambled together as I'm talking about it. But I promise you, I'll try to make it plain and clear before we get off. So this is the state observation evidence sorting form option A. There's an A and a B, okay? And if, as you can see, you put everything up here for the teacher that you're observing. Determine whether it's the formal observation 1, 2, or 3, or if it's an informal. It breaks down every domain that is on the state rubric. And it tells you what a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1 looks like. This is what you should look for. And what evidence did you find to say, yes, this is following the college and career standards, or I can see collaboration within the discipline to enrich learning? I would say this part of it is the most important, making sure that student learning outcomes and instructional activities are aligned to the standards and that they are teaching the standards to a depth that you as an administrator expect. This is a very key talking point for a lot of feedbacks. Because if I've gone in and I spend time in planning, my teachers plan together along their disciplines. And I like to go in and observe math. I'll observe 3rd grade math. I go in all of my math classes because I want to make sure you're all teaching the same things to to different kids. And I don't want it cookie cutter by no means, but the standards should be taught. I have some old school teachers that rely heavily on paper pencil, or the newer teachers, they use their Promethean boards, the Chromebooks. But I need to make sure everybody's teaching college and career standards that are at a depth that are meaningful and that the kids are not just sitting. So that, to me, and when you asked that question earlier, Gary, that's why this is important. And then it goes into the second part of domain 1, the high levels of learning for all students. And again, it breaks down what a 4, 3, a 2, and a 1 looks like. What evidence did you see when you were in there? And then it gets into domain 2, student learning. So this is one of the recording forms that you can use when doing observations. And then the culture and learning environment. And so it breaks down each and every last one of the different domains that you're going to observe a teacher in. And my district rubric does mirror this rubric a little bit, but it does change a little bit as well. So that's why it's important that I do both, so that when it's time to do the state reporting, I have the actual numbers I need. Okay,
morning,
any
Dr.
questions about this document?
Good morning. Look, I'm hoarse. I'm sorry.
Me
But
too.
like in my school, my principals, they do use the teacher rubric, but on our end, we have to have our own teacher. They call it a teacher growth binder. So under each domain, we have to have evidence if we get, for say, like a 2 or a 3, and we want to argue like why do we get this score? We have to have our evidence under our domain to have our evidence. So like we go in our one-on-one conferences, they can say, well, this is why you got this, but I have evidence that I did this in class. So it's very interesting when you do your one-on-ones after you have your formal observations.
Oh yeah, and I've worked when I was teaching in JPS, we had to collect our evidence, and I had a binder that I kept all my things because I'm ready for the argument if I'm not a 4. Like, I'm that human. Like, come on with it. I know what I've been doing.
Right. I was like, I know I need a 4 on this part.
Yep. So yes, and that's a good thing though, because especially in schools that are really big and that principal is only seeing you once a semester. You really can't tell a teacher if you've only seen them once a semester what they are doing and what they're not doing. You just can't. And that has always been my soapbox. You're not going to tell me how good or bad I'm doing if you've only been in my room for this observation. You can't do that. So that's my soapbox, and I lived there for a while. Okay, so that's one of the sorting recording forms. Let's look at the other one. There are two. And this is pretty much the form that I want you guys, when we do our quick sorting here in just a minute on your sheet of paper, this is basically what I'm asking you all to do today. Okay, let me see, will it show now? There we go. And this is the scripting. So when and this is more or less what is used for an informal walkthrough observation. On there, you would, what the teacher is teaching, what the student is learning. And this is part of your assignment for your growth rubric that I think is due January 28th, maybe. That's the date I got written down. I'm gonna go back and check. But this is part of what you'll do. You'll do this form and the other form. You'll do both. But while you're watching the video, you will take notes on this form. Okay. And then you'll go back to the evidence form and rate them on what their score is and then why you gave that score. Does that make sense? Okay. Some people are gonna have questions later. I know. I'm ready for them. But this form is what I have moved to for my informal observations. When I'm in the classroom, 15, 20 minutes, this is what I use. I just write down what the teacher's doing, what the student is doing, and then I come back and have a conversation with them about what I saw, what I heard, and then what I was wondering. That's how I preface my conversations. I was wondering why, when the kids broke off into small groups, you had these two students who were working on something different. So then the teacher can come back and say, well, they were finishing up this work, or they were out last week and we're needing to review that. So I like to coach them through helping me understand, as opposed to me coming in and saying, hey, when I was in there, da 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 da, or why didn't you do this? To me, that's just a little bit harsher than asking questions. But this is one of the reporting forms as well. Do you guys have any questions about this form? Nope, no questions. All right, I'm gonna stop there. Make sure my YouTube videos are up and working. We're gonna watch 2 clips from a YouTube video of a teacher teaching kids. What I need you to put on your sheet of paper, teaching, and then the student learning. What you see basically is going on. The teacher is reading a book. The teacher is asking questions. And then we're gonna look at, we'll talk about what you saw, and then we're gonna look at a second video. And they're 2 different grade levels. And in the second video is kindergartners. And you'll watch that video and do a little bit of this note taking. Then we'll have a discussion about what you saw from the first video, and then we'll watch the second one, and then we'll have a discussion about what you saw in the second video. Okay? Everybody ready? Okay, y'all look ready. Let me make sure I have the right video up. I don't, of course not. So 4th grade ELA is first. Hold on. Windows open. Okay. Y'all see a teacher?
Marshes, and still water. Reading that passage on your own and marking key information that you found in the text. I will now read it to you. Feel free to also mark something if you don't feel you got it on your read. Feel free to mark it at this time. Water striders. Imagine yourself zooming across the top of a pond or lake without sinking in. While this might be hard for you to do, it is easy for a water strider. A water strider is a water bug that looks like a large mosquito. What makes it different from a mosquito, however, is the fact that it can walk across the water. You can find water striders on the surface of some ponds, marshes, and still water. Water striders do more than just walk across the water. They also catch and eat. The front pair of legs is short, while the middle and back legs are very food for other what row or column we're working on, use as your markers. Here's how the game will be played. Your entire group is one team. I will tell you what row or column we're working on at that time. Whenever I show you what row or column we're working on, your team is going to try to find the answers to those questions. They must be highlighted in the text, and you must be able to tell me where you found it with the paragraph and the sentence number. Here we go. The first thing we're going to work on is across the top. What insect does a water strider resemble? How would you describe the size of a water strider? What fact can you select to show the speed of a water strider? Go.
Large mosquito. It looks like a large mosquito. Yeah. Okay, so put a spider right there.
What's your answer going to be?
Which is, a large mosquito.
Okay.
The size of a water.
You're going to find it in the text. You have to be able to highlight it to use it for an answer. What fact can you select to show the speed of a water strider? Abby has an answer. Share it, Abby. What did you see?
I saw sentence 5, group 1, water spiders also have
Go on and finish.
good vision and can move quickly.
Awesome job. Awesome. Okay, I heard my first group, water striders. I heard it. Okay, let's see if they've got it. Now they're going to help you out because remember when we respond, the first thing we do is tell the paragraph, then the sentence number, then we give our fact, but then we answer our question. And I'm going to type the answer up here. That way you'll make sure you've highlighted the correct section. Here we go. Which insect does a water strider resemble? Hudson, can you tell me where you found that answer?
Paragraph 2, sentence 1, a water strider is a water bug that looks like a large mosquito.
Okay, so he said paragraph 2, sentence 1. And what is your answer then?
A large mosquito.
A large mosquito. He is correct. Looking good. Next one. How?
All right, anyone wants to share what they saw, what they noticed about the lesson? Can I get that?
I don't mind sharing if nobody else is right now. So one of the main things that I observed is that she only taught from the front of the room. The pace at which she went, especially for that age, like I teach 8th grade. And teaching the bottom quartile, I know that I slow things down. There was no identifying, do we know what this is? Does everybody understand? Are there additional questions? There was no visual up on the board as an example of what she was expecting at the beginning for the highlighting, underlining key terms. She didn't give them a proper response time from what I saw. When she did encircle the classroom, she only gratified one group. She didn't go to all of the groups. She only recognized that one did it correctly. And then I've also noticed that when she did get an answer from Hudson, she went ahead and immediately said, yes, this is correct, instead of allowing the students to maybe rationalize, what did I find? I didn't get that answer. Okay, why didn't you get that answer? And then on the student side, I noticed there was a good amount appearing to try and follow along as she was reading it using their pencils, which indicated maybe like the speed, the comprehension, the recognition of words. So they were tracking them. You could recognize that some appeared to be frustrated. They had their pencils down as maybe they couldn't follow, or maybe they had already read it all because they understood it. In groups, only some of them were participating, not everybody. Others were copying down the answers, not all engaged. And that the students were also teaching other students, which I liked that she was like, okay, how did you find it? And showed them the information.
Okay, anyone else?
I
I'll share.
slightly disagree with her. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Jordan. Go ahead, you
I have
got
to
it.
say I slightly disagree with Ashley because I was a fourth grade teacher. And mind you, we only saw a short snippet of that video. In the front of the classroom, when she was given the instruction for the assignment, we couldn't necessarily see if she had the groups levelized. Like, say she had lower groups in one, she may have had what she expected in front of that lower level group in their group, so they knew what they were expected to do. And then once she gave the instructions to the whole group, she did walk around and monitor. We did only see her go to that one group because, again, the film was just a short snippet. And then she went back up to the room when she asked the group to share, and she repeated the instructions on how she expected them to answer. Paragraph 1, sentence 2. So I do think she was good and clear in communication with her instructions. And as far as not having the expectation, I can't say that she didn't or she did because we couldn't physically see that. And again, she could have had it printed and put it in the groups that were the lower level learners or lower level achievers. So that's just my perspective.
All right, Sherelle.
Ditto to them both. I seen the similarities and differences just like they did. So that's all I was going to elaborate on.
Okay. Anyone else?
I know that
Go ahead.
you can go ahead.
I mean, I guess my thinking, even though I have a bunch of stuff on both sides, but one thing that I saw that was like really cool to me that stood out was just like at the very end, the class-wide, like kind of celebratory, like everybody was on one accord, and it was something that was not distracting. Sometimes we can kind of have these little call and response things that go a little bit too far or it's like a little too lengthy. But I love that everybody was on one accord when it comes to just celebrating the group that had the correct answer.
I was just gonna say from a high school perspective, one thing my administrators tried to get me to do is ask questions and then give the whole group a time to think about it, not say, hey, so and so, what do you think about this? Ask the question. I think she did that. So I thought that she had effective questioning in relation to that. As far as the assignment goes, I was kind of wondering the same thing that both have said, but it seems as though that assignment is not something they just did that day for the first time. Those kids seem to be locked in. It looked like they were, they knew what they were being asked to do. It seemed like they were all actively engaged in the assignment, I thought.
Just to piggyback, I did notice, I observed, I thought she had great classroom management. Of course, most of the kids did seem to be involved in what was going on. Of course, we have some strayers. That's just in all classes. But I think she does have overall great classroom management. And now at my school, we're incorporating Kagan strategies. I don't know if y'all have heard of them or use them, but I kind of got a Kagan strategy vibe from the peer learning and the rally coach a little bit. So that's just what I think.
So I don't know if y'all missed the beginning because I was skipping through it a lot. In her initial conversation with them, she said, y'all have had a chance to read the passage. Now I'm going to read it aloud to you. So that for me meant they've been working on that passage for a little while. Ashley, I want to talk about, like, yes, response time. We don't know if they are given more time or if it's less time. Because that passage wasn't new. Was this a repeat or all of that kind of stuff? I did like I like that too. We do capiche caposh for our whole group response, like if it's an assembly, because the librarian has taught that to everybody. The classrooms do different things. So I do like things like that to get their attention or to celebrate. Let's look at video number 2. And I know we'll have a lot more discussion behind video number 2. So if you've written all of your notes on that page, I know somebody said they filled it up with notes, flip it over to the back, and we're gonna do the same thing, teacher, student.
Dr. Cockrell, what's the grade level of this again in the class?
The second video is going to be a group of kindergarten students. So yes, the first one was 4th grade. This next one is kindergarten. Why is it sharing that screen? Let's try it again. feel the same thing. I don't know why. Let me go back and fix that. I think I have too many windows open. Y'all give me just a minute. Just redo that. Really? Showing up on here, but not on here. Here we go. Fifth time's the charm. All right, so yes, this is a kindergarten classroom. So just kind of watch and see how this teacher interacts.
Kindergartners, I need your help doing some thinking for a moment. Because I was thinking about the books. 2 of the stories we've read. Dominic, off the top. Oh. I was thinking about spring. No. And then I was thinking about the story Down the Hill. And I was thinking, Davia, I was thinking about some of the things that are the same about the stories and some of the things that are different. CJ, in your spot sitting up. I was thinking about some of the things that are the same and some of the things that are different. We're going to put those things up here on what we call a Venn diagram. Can you say that? Venn diagram. Oh, one more time. Say it. Venn diagram. In order to do this, I'm going to need your help. So first, I need you. Put your bodies in it. Not too close. Remember, don't touch the person in front of you. Let's go. Look, there's room right here. Scoot up. CJ, you need to be out from under the table. Okay, eyes right here. Thank you, Kieja. Eyes are up here. She's ready to learn. James is ready. Now I'm going to be a scout. A scout is going to be someone who watches, someone who's being responsible, sitting up. Dominic, would you come on up and be our scout first? Nope, Dominic. Sit down, Stevia. Oh, sit down, sir. I want it. Yes, Miss Bighorn. You need to show Dominic that you can be responsible. Sitting up straight and tall, eyes up here. Dominic, your job is to pay attention to Miss Bighorn and to watch the class to see who's being responsible. Responsibility is doing what you're supposed to be doing. So you're sitting up straight and tall, you're listening. When it's time to turn and talk to your friends, you turn and talk. Okay, here we go. Here. I'm thinking, we know what happened in spring. Let's get back to what happened in the story Down the Hill. Let me help you. No, sit down. Sit down. It's falling down. Baby, sit down. Sit down. Thank you, sir. Look here. What happened at the beginning of the story Down the Hill? It was snowing. Oh, it was snowing. Was it snowing in spring? No. Okay, so let's see. Down the hill. In the story Down the Hill, it was snowing. I just felt snowing. But I'm thinking, in the story spring, was it snowing?
All right. What are we thinking?
All right, if you don't mind me going. I noticed she did have a lot of patience. She did try to actively redirect in the midst of teaching while keeping the other kids calm. Like I said, I thought it was smooth redirectioning and monitoring. Most of the kids seemed engaged. Of course, we had those couple of behaviors that we just can't contain while sitting where we are. So she was using students' positive behavior to hopefully redirect the negative behaviors. And lastly, bless her heart. And I'm done.
Takes a special person to teach kindergartners.
That is correct. It does take a special person. Now, I'm going to ask a question. Classroom management, could you see it?
She definitely needs some support with the classroom management. Routines and procedures for being in whole group were not there. I mean, she was constantly redirecting. trying to get everybody on task. So it kind of interfered with her instruction time.
Did? Were all the kids focused when she pulled the book out?
They were not.
One thing, Dr. Cockburn, that I think as an administrator, I would recommend, just from my experience of teaching kindergartners and even with music, is a lot of times not only with the fidgeting, but also with the learning as well, for them to have some type of maybe hands-on activity that they can do while the learning is happening. Again, to add another layer of learning, but then to also kind of help. So maybe a cut out of a Venn diagram. And I noticed she wrote snowing. So maybe had like some little snowflakes to kind of move over so that they can kind of track and be productive as she's going through the book and making little notes on their own.
And
And
I'm
the
thinking,
reason- oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Toy.
the level of instruction for where that lesson for kindergarten, I think, was too high. They were so I'm looking at, they were doing spring and winter, two different books. So I think that level was too high for them. I mean, I've been a kindergarten teacher and I coach K through third, so that was
Comparing two texts
that
that
was
hit until third grade.
yes. That, for kinder, that was a little much. Yes.
Yeah, I would agree. The difference in the videos, and I know when you start thinking about administration, you may be in elementary, but you may get a middle school job. And if you've never taught middle school, it's like, whoa, what do I do as an admin? Or you've been in high school your whole career and you come down to elementary and it's like, I don't know what to look for in a kindergarten classroom. But this is always my take on that. You know good instruction when you see it. You know when students are learning. You know when teachers are in control of the class. My take on her is that she has no control over that classroom because she said one kid's name at least 3 times without a consequence. You need to be moving a color light, getting a mark. I mean, there should be something that is redirecting students. As opposed to the first video when she said, okay, take a pick. Every kid knew what to do. That lets you know those procedures are a part of her classroom structure. When she had them in groups, she said, okay, boys and girls, start working in your group. They started working. You can tell the difference between teachers who have put in place the procedures, the expectations, and you can tell the classroom where the teacher's really still trying to figure it out. So when you're doing the observations, the videos that are in that module for that day, for that particular assignment, you get to pick whichever one you're most comfortable viewing. And there are different grades and age levels in there. And you're only viewing one video. You're gonna do the 2-sided sheet that I showed you guys, the scripting form, where you write the time, you write what the teacher's doing, what the kids are doing. And then you'll go to the evidence sheet. And if you rate a 4, then down at the bottom, you'll say why it was a 4. And some of those areas you won't be able to see in the video. And so you just put NA at the bottom. There's nothing to grade. There's nothing, there's nothing to do for that. But that's basically what that assignment entails. And I think it's good for you to do this in this class because once you are in that position, that's a big part of your job is getting into classrooms and observing and being able to provide feedback. I've never ever taught Spanish. I wouldn't know what those teachers are teaching when they're in there for Spanish, but I know when I look at kids and if they're doing a response, if the teacher's asking questions, I can tell that they're engaged in the learning, that the teachers are actually embedding the curriculum or teaching the standards. So those are the type of things that as an administrator, you have to know. I've never taught music before, but I know when I go in my music teacher's classroom, I know when she's winging it. I know when she's doing a video on the Promethean board and the kids are just standing up tapping. I know that. I've never taught music. But when I go in and I see boom whackers out and I see, she's using her music program and they're, beating to the beat, or this group has this section, this group has this section. I know when she's prepared. You know, those are the type of things as an administrator, when you're going in to look at a class setting, you've not taught all the grades, you've not taught all the subject areas, but you know good teaching and you know when kids are learning. And that's what you start to look for. And even in the SPED classroom, I was the inclusion teacher 5 years straight. I just really thought I pulled the short stick and nobody wanted it but me. But I knew when I didn't have the SPED assistant in my room and I was given a reading test, I had to have a small group at my table because somebody's got to read aloud to these kids. That's what's on their accommodations. It's going to be done. When I walk in a classroom and I know it's my inclusion classroom, I can literally walk in and say, okay, they're doing group work and she's got an inclusion kid at every table with kids who can help them. I know that. That's how you get familiar with your staff. That's how you get familiar with what's going on in your building. You start walking classrooms and you start figuring out what the teaching and learning looks like in every class. I've always considered myself a very good classroom manager. Like, I believe kids need to be on point. If I say get quiet, people get quiet. You know, we're moving forward. I have a teacher in my building. She teaches through the chaos. She has the top scores in science in my whole school. What am I going to go in there and talk to her about classroom management for? Because these kids are learning. You know, so those are the types of things that I learned in my first year as an admin, is that I can't go in and say your classroom management is poor, but your kids are learning. See, the two go together. Now, if I went in a classroom and the classroom management was out of whack, and then I look at my first benchmark data and those kids aren't growing, then that's a conversation we're going to have. These kids have to listen to you. They have to sit still. But you do have to look at your data, look at your observations, and have those conversations with your staff. All of this stuff, it works together. It's not one without the other. You can't go in and just decide how a teacher is without the conversation piece. Any questions about this part of the assignments? Okay. That's one of my favorite parts of this class, this session, is watching the teachers teach, because again, that's a big part of your job when you go into administration. All right, let's see. I got to look at my notes because I've gotten off track. Okay, the last thing, and then we're going to start wrapping up, is just going back through our Canvas module and looking at what's the upcoming things that we have in front of us. Okay, I can't do that until I get to the right screen. Give me a second, clear you out. Okay, so let's go to the modules. We're in week 5 right now. And as I was saying, the teacher observation forms, that's that sorting form A, and then the scripting form, the 2 sides with the time. And if you want to go through the training, observation training, you can look through that. That's that Mississippi Professional Growth System guidebook that I showed you. So all of these things are available for you. And then tomorrow at 11:59 domains 3 and 4 are due. I will drop the class recording after Zoom has to cloud it and do all the things. So I will put that in there. And then look at that. We have a long break. Love it. Then we'll pick back up with module 6, the week of the 8th. In that week, you have your SMART goals, part 2 of your SMART goals assignment that's due, and the evaluation process. And that's where you're going to read in your chapter, and then you create the wheel and then explain that wheel in your writing. And then you have, like I said, the evaluation, the mock teacher evaluation. I did have that date right, January 28th. And I am adding those instructor videos, and they are videos that are from past times. Oh, I haven't put this one in. I'll put that one in. That one's in. And I tried to put a little note there. The dates aren't correct because I recorded those during the summer session. But the information of what's due and how it needs to be done, that information is up to date. I will drop this one for week 6 in sometime this week. And then we go into domains 5 and 6. Those will be coming up due. And then those of you all that have the specialists, your group assignment is coming up due, and that's the PowerPoint. You can do a PowerPoint, you can do a Microsoft Word, and it's just best practices along elementary, middle, and high school. And that will be due that week coming back. Don't forget to get your classes in the week of the 16th for summer registration. We'll do our last face-to-face meeting on January 27th at 8 o'clock. So that link is already there. And then your professional growth rubric, your mock teacher evaluations due on the 28th. And then your 6 domain project. And you've done the readings for all 6 domains, and you've done the small assignments with the writing and answering the questions. What you do at the end for this is just compiling it all together in a PowerPoint. What does domain 1 speak to? Domain 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that's all that'll be for that last assignment. And then you have a week 10 discussion, and that's basically giving me feedback. And please be honest, you won't hurt my feelings, but I like feedback. I am that person who wants to know how to improve at all times. And even with teaching this class, being that it's a virtual class, what will make you get the better bang for your buck from it? And you're paying it forward for the students that's coming after you so that I can make those changes. One change I made from the summer to this class is just kind of compressing some of the information on the Canvas module. That was the biggest feedback I got last time, was that it's just too much stuff on the page and they couldn't find stuff. So I tried to condense it as much as possible and leave notes, like having the notes so that you know exactly what's coming down on the screen. But that is all of the upcoming things to the end. We'll do a last class in January, and that class will be just our wrap up of the domains and just how what your thinking has been over the course of the course. That didn't make sense, but y'all know what I meant. Let me take a screenshot so I can give everybody credit for being on. There we go. That's how I take roll. I do the screenshots and that tells me who's here. Oh, wait, that one didn't have your names attached. Okay, got it. All right, now this part is for you. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a question about our group project. On the data that I submitted to my group, it had the Mississippi standards that was attached to the diagnostic that we took. But I got with my principal yesterday because I didn't feel like it showed the way it needed to show in order for us to explain what was going on. So she cut off the student's name so that when we get ready to submit the part 2, I just submit the MS standards and the one that has the actual data. I mean, I guess their scores or whatever on how we decided how we choose, because it looked better to me and it's more explainable. But the MS standards shows the areas and what, how many students mastered it, how many students need.
So what group is that so I can make a note for myself?
Group 2, I think. It's Oliver and Karen.
Okay, got it. And when you guys submit it, make sure, and I'm glad you brought that out, Lasagna, just in that when y'all submit your assignments, I know one person gave the data to the group, but everybody needs to upload the data and the assignment. And, with the cover letter with everyone's names on it, because I like to see alignment across everyone in that particular group. And I'll make sure when I grade this first set of data, I will I'm making a note that the data will look different the second time.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else?
Dr. Cockrell, can I hang around after everybody's gone and talk to you about this email that I sent you?
Of course you can.
Thank you.
All hearts and minds satisfied? It is 9:30 a.m. And we did not open in prayer, and that's like one of my big things for this class. Would anybody like to close us out in prayer? Don't be shy. We're at a Christian university.
I'll do it since I
Thank
was
you.
asking on. Father God, we thank you for this moment, Lord. We thank you for allowing us to see another day. And we thank you for everything that you've done and everything that you're going to do. We ask that as we depart from this class, that everyone have a safe and happy holiday, Lord. We pray that during the Christmas holidays, everybody will remember the reason for the seasons, Lord. Yes, we'll get gifts. Yes, we'll give gifts. But Lord, most of all, we just thank you for life. We thank you for everything, Lord. We cannot thank you enough. And I just pray that you watch over our instructors, watch over all of my classmates, and as we do the best we can, Lord, and we come together as one, and that you get all the glory. In your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So thank y'all again for participating and being a live, active virtual class. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, y'all have been the most active class that I've had since I've started teaching this class. So thank y'all so much for that. Any questions, y'all email me. My email has been a little wonky. Like I won't see an email on my phone. So I was like, okay, I need to start checking it on the computer more often. So I'm getting better with that. So graded, all graded assignments. Y'all give me until like Wednesday, and I'm gonna try to be all caught up with all the grades going into the Christmas holiday. Wednesday's my deadline. I have to give myself deadlines in order to do the things that I'm supposed to do. And so you should have all your grades in by Wednesday going into the break, so you'll know where you are. If you have any questions or if you have any assignments that have not been turned in, you have until Wednesday. You know how y'all tell the kids, I need my grades, I need my grades. I'm right there. Put your stuff in. I'll get all that stuff graded. And Wednesday, y'all have a blessed week, a Merry Christmas, and take some time. I told my teachers this at our last staff meeting. Turn your computers off. Turn your emails off. If you get them on your watch and your phone and all your devices, turn it off. Put in a non-reply, that reply all thing that you put in your emails. I am on holiday break. If you have a problem, it'll still be there in January. And take some time to refresh, to just relax and be in the moment with your families. It is one of my goals. That's my Zen zone that I'm staying in over the break. And I'm going to take that time. Y'all should do the same. You work hard, and the second half of school moves so fast that you need the break. All right, y'all have